Oh, so it's not yet. Ah, hello. How are you?
Hello. Well, welcome to the show. Today we are joined by the wonderful
Oh,
Mikey Curti, who's an energy medicine specialist, a nutritionist, a dietitian, among many other things. She does a lot of functional medicine. She's all about the roots and not the symptoms. And she's all about finding the way to get better from a holistic point of view, as opposed to the traditional, old school, and a little bit old fashioned, just handing some drugs over the counter and making them better. So, thank you so much, Mickey, for being part of this and for doing this interview.
thank you for having me, Peter.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I know we have spoken before. That was
Hmm.
a while back. That was during COVID,
Hmm.
when the world was on its knees. Now, the world is back up and running, but we've got other challenges facing us, and a lot of people are struggling with health and have health crises at the moment. And I know you have a very open-minded view of this, and you've been helping and walking beside many people to get them back to where they need to be. Can you just start off the chat by just explaining a little bit about what you do? Because who am I to explain what you are? I think you know better than anyone. So tell us a bit about what you do and how you help people, Mickey.
So, as you recall, I am a functional nutritionist, a registered dietitian when it comes to the territory of the United States. Um, but because I live a bit globally these days, I also operate in UK and in Italy, and I also trained as a energy medicine specialist at the Four Winds Society of Alberto Villoldo, and I sort of fused the two things together because I do believe that when we have issues, they always stem from a certain root, and if we just stay on the surface and we just work on the symptom, we never really get to the real reason why it happened in the first place. I know I've said before that I'm not a fan of applying band aids. What are they called in the UK? Plaster bands.
Plasters, band-aids.
I know because one time I was in this facility and I kept on saying, I can't find the band aids. I can't find the band aids. And then somebody finally told me, yeah, because we don't call them that here.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so yes, I'm no fan of putting plaster bands or band-aids, whatever they're called, where I am. I really prefer to help a person to find their way to their health from the roots.
Yeah.
And I've sort of melted the two pieces of knowledge in a way that I help a person integrally when I can and when it's accepted.
Hmm.
When it's accepted, because energy medicine is still very unknown by many. But if I can fuse the two, we can really help someone feel better and be a little more in control of their health.
Okay. Just for anyone who's watching who maybe doesn't understand energy medicine, or when you refer to going to the roots, what can you just explain in basic terms what you mean by addressing the roots as opposed to the symptoms?
So, for example, somebody comes to me and tells me I have these crazy blood sugar values and I'm on three blood sugar medications and they don't seem to work. I don't just look at the blood sugar. I don't just look at the medications and their side effects, but I look at the why that position is happening for that person. And usually, if you look closely at somebody's situation, you'll find that there's a reason why blood sugar medications won't work as much and the blood sugar will still be high. And that's where the jelly of the situation is. So if you find what is it that is skyrocketing the blood sugar no matter what, that is where you need to work on. And if you work really well, then that person is not even going to need so many medications anymore, possibly not even need one at all. Of course, it's not up to me to say drop the medication, but it's up to me to find a solution for that person.
Mm,
And I'm very passionate about this. My friends know I have experienced my health challenges myself. I have intolerances. I've avoided numerous medicines myself over the years and found my own alternative ways
mm,
because I am delicate myself.
yeah,
So I've mastered sort of a way to go around to solve problems, not just in my life, but also in my nutrition and medical
sure.
life. So in a situation like a person that has this uncontrollable blood sugar, I go look into what is happening in their life. What other medication are they taking concurrently?
Mm,
What is happening trauma wise? What has happened maybe earlier on? Has there been a trigger recently?
yeah.
And this in functional medicine is called building the matrix of the reasons and everything that constitutes the health of a person. And that's what we look at. And that's
Mm,
why our appointments are traditionally longer than the 15-minute that you get at the GP at NHS, or even in the US, they're still longer than even those appointments, because we have to look at all of these things in a
yeah,
really deep way.
yeah. So you've mentioned obviously, going to the roots that you're a dietitian, that nutrition is a key element, and that obviously you're identifying trauma here in a client, or previous trauma, or whatever it is at the core of that's kind of creating the problem. What tell us a little bit about the energy medicine side of things and how that comes into play here, because one thing is nutrition, and I think people, or the world, that more scientific approach, people accept that in more readily. But the energy medicine is it's certainly not improving, because we've both seen some amazing things happen, but
Mm-hmm.
it's something that people generally seem to be a bit more skeptical of.
Mm-hmm. People will believe what happens to them when it happens to them. And I've seen that firsthand in the most skeptical people. All of a sudden, they experienced a miracle, and all of a sudden, they believe. And I am in no rush in making anyone believe. I just am happy to experience it myself. I'm happy to share it with my clients, and it is what it is. So basically, energy medicine is everything having to do with the energy body of the person, everything having to do with working again with the blocks at the roots of issues. And with Alberto, we got trained to work in the energy body of people and capturing the essence of the issues, capturing the energy. So, not getting so involved in the story that uh, the patient presents us, but really just capturing the energy and improving it with the help of our guides and with the help of our skills, with the help of everything that is given to us to do.
And just to give people an example who've never had a session with you, which obviously is an all-encompassing session rather than just specifically energy medicine, what what would generally happen when they came in to your clinic, or you went to see them, and like what are the kind of results that you generally find? How many sessions might they need? I'll stop asking the questions now, but basically, what can people expect? People who haven't got time to read a full book by Alberto Villoldo, but simply just want to get better, and to see someone like yourself, because maybe they've tried many other things that haven't yet worked. And that's certainly my experience of energy medicine. It's something that for people with more closed minds, it's kind of the last resort, that maybe their partner's pushing them to go along and do, and in the end they go, okay, I've tried everything else, and then that's when the magic happens. So tell us a little bit about what their experience might be.
The experience can be very different from anyone because every situation is different. So what I do, I basically talk to the person very briefly just to capture enough of what the problem is, because again, it's important for me not to enter in the story, otherwise I become involved. So I need to understand just enough to enter, and then the work is it's very much in the moment, in the sense that I will need to go in, as we say in energy medicine, as in the situation, in a space that we call sacred in energy medicine, and then receive information on how I'm supposed to help the person. This information is difficult to explain or how I receive it, but it's a mix of my own human sensations on the energy field of the person, but it's also very much guided by the guidance of the person, my guides. Um, One of my guides, believe it or not, is my uncle, who was an amazing doctor in real life, my uncle Renato. And he still is a doctor, even in the other realm, because he's present in every one of my healings. And he tells me, go here and do this, and check this and do that. And it's an amazing way to work, even though it sounds so out there when I explain it to people. But it basically is this: I am guided to look into places in the body of the person, the energy body. And then, because I am not a medical professional, I cannot diagnose anything. I always preface with, check with your doctor, have a test, and see what's really going on the inside, because this is the energetical perception that I have. And this is what I found. This is what my hands perceived in your energy body. But I want you to, know for yourself what is really going on the in. Never happened that somebody told me that I was too off, because guidance works. But again, I don't diagnose anything, but I have a pretty good idea scanning what is going on and what is it that I need to do. And what is it that I do is I work to remove or clear whatever is blocking the well being of the person. And there are many techniques that were trained in shamanic energy school: illuminations, soul retrieval, clearing, extractions of entities. And we're talking the actual spirits that get trapped in our bodies. We do
Yeah.
it in a much sweeter way than a formal exorcism that you may have seen in a movie. Our process is more peaceful, very flowing.
Mm.
Sometimes you do get in a little bit of a, okay, all right, you need to get out, this is not your place. But it never gets like in the exorcist movies to that point. So these are the things that we do. We go back in time, we go back in quantum leaps,
Mm-hmm.
and this is where it becomes very much quantum healing, because we are able to actually extrapolate a certain energy that was implanted at a certain point and go work it and actually change the past and the present. And this is the beauty of energy medicine. It allows you to work in the present, but also in the past, and influence the future. I hope it was sufficiently clear and not too much out there.
Well, I don't know. These days, I don't know what out there is, because I really feel that the world's got to that kind of place where we need to be we need to accept that this is real life, and we've created a very conditioned people and human beings. And I think all the things that have happened over the last 5 years, from COVID, well, in the last 20 years, like from COVID to, all these strong messages that the earth is giving to us, that we have to change, whether it's we have to stop flying, or we have to stop pumping crap into the skies, or
Mm.
crap into our bodies. For me, it's only a matter of time before everybody just kind of snaps out of this kind of hypnotic state of ignoring the reality. And certainly
Mm.
from my experience, Mickey, what everything is connected with fear. All our negative stuff that happens to us,
Mm.
everything is connected with. It all comes down to either a fear of death, or a fear of losing something that we have, or everything comes down to that. And it's funny, some of us are lucky or cursed, depending which way you look at it, in terms of our bodies, that we're very sensitive to certain things. So, I've had gluten issues. Oh, there you go, the final countdown. There you go. You couldn't have a more apt song to start playing. Um, but yeah, for me, I've been on a journey with gluten. I've been on a journey with lactose. I've been on a journey with all sorts of things with my health, and everything's. If I've listened to it, everything's had a message. And the moment I've worked out what it was, and it's not necessarily something that happens straight away. It's whether it's a food diary, or whether it's
Mm.
healing sessions or whatever. It's eventually led to me finding out something about myself, about me
Mhm.
growing and understanding my body better. And people like yourself, I think, it will become much more normal that a trained medical professional will have also the knowledge that someone like yourself has, because it's all part of the healing journey, isn't it? And we're not
Mm.
just a physical body, we're also an energetic body, and they're all connected. And science hasn't quite got there yet officially, although there are some studies out there already. But the reality is that it's coming. I know Alberto always used to say to me that if he wanted to prove something, it took 30 years with a scientific paper to prove it. And
It's
so
true.
and so he said, well, people said, so why are you doing that? It's not been proved. And he says, well, I'll be
Mm.
dead by the time this gets proved. So I'm not going to mess around. I want to help people. And that's exactly what you're doing, Mickey. And the world
Yes.
needs more people like you.
Oh, thank you. I would also add to say that some studies never make it to light because there isn't enough money interest behind them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the
Because
pharmaceutical
stevia.
industry perhaps also is not the most open-minded, and
Mm.
if it means they're going to lose some money, then unfortunately it means
Mm.
that the study might never ever come to fruition. But let's talk a little bit about more about what you do. I know, like, functional nutrition is part of it. Can you explain a little bit about what functional nutrition is for those people who don't understand?
Functional nutrition is a science based portion of alternative medicine that wants to basically help people heal first using food and then maybe possibly using supplements before we go into standard pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
It teaches people to heal with food first of all.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So when you do your sessions, do you just combine everything, or do you sometimes just put your nutritionist? I know you're Gemini, so you're rigid, scientific, but also a free spirit at the same time. So, are you always wearing every hat, or do people come just for the nutrition? Do people come just for the diet advice, or do people come for everything?
It depends on the person. Some people ask me specifically for just functional nutrition, and other people go all in. They believe in the energetical aspect and they say, no, do the whole enchilada. And I think that is where the greatest work is because I can really tap into everything. I can look at the whole situation. I can look at trauma and not just nutrition. So when my intuitive side says, here I'm being told that there's a bit of lack of water and vitamin of some kind, then I can actually look at testing and see what testing says. and work the whole way. It's so integral, it's so complete. But not everybody is up for it. So I work with whatever I am given to work with. Some people really don't feel good about energy medicine. They think no, and I respect it. It's okay. Um, it has helped people greatly,
Yeah.
but it's not for everyone. I've
Yeah.
had a patient that actually had. I'm not gonna make names, but a very, 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 very difficult situation with endometriosis, and I had located the energy very vividly, and we found it. We cleared it. It was a beautiful, beautiful session, and the doctor could not explain how the endometriosis went from 8 inches to 3. And when they operated, it was like I practically have nothing to operate because it shrunk. And my patient very candidly said, "Yeah, I went to a shaman," and the doctor pretty much laughed at her.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
these are still things that people look at and they're like, "Yeah, well, I don't know if I believe it."
Yeah.
And
I've heard this story so many times, and like how
mm,
the medical world like doesn't believe, like can't even entertain the possibility
mm,
that that they're doing something. And actually, for me at least, my experience of it is that I think the moment that the person who has the problem acknowledges, and asks for help from a kind of bigger source, whether that's going to see a shaman or an energy
mhm,
medicine specialist, or you know, doesn't just sit with a diagnosis and just go, well, I've got an average chance of 1 year left on this planet, and they actually go, well, hold on, I'm ready to change. From that moment, I never quite know who actually does the healing. I guess it's something. It's neither of the humans. It's probably something bigger than that. But it's like the moment they open the door for someone to help, and
mm,
that's when the shift seems to happen. And it's a real shame that
mm,
there's a lot of professionals on this world who ultimately are there to help people. They're not willing to accept that maybe a miracle might just have happened,
mm,
or something bigger is at play. But yeah, we
mm,
let's send some compassion to professionals like that, and just I think it is the best advert that you can give here is that these miracles happen with your sessions, and if people really want an opportunity to heal and they're ready to potentially change a little bit and move forward, whether that's diet wise or whether it's in their mind or heart set, then do it. Then do it. So, Mickey, how can people who want to book a session with you do that? Have you got a website or a number, or how do people reach you?
I have a website and an email address where I collect basically all the communications.
Yeah,
So the two websites are raisinghealth.com
yeah.
and modernizedenergymedicine.com. And my email address is Mikayla, spelled Mikayla, at Raisin Health International. Raisin, like the little fruit.
So
Rais-
RAISIN.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
Healthinternational.com. And that's where my communication goes into. And that's where I communicate and start connecting with people and seeing how I can help them
yeah.
and how can we schedule. I work remotely mostly. Not many people come to see me in person anymore, but I still have a little office
Yeah,
in Glasgow, in the Glasgow area.
yeah,
I also collaborate with a center where they give me a space in Glasgow and they do testing and streamlined, amazing screening assessments. So I can work from there as well, doing nutrition mostly.
yeah, yeah,
But most of the work really is done remotely because energy is energy. It reaches everywhere. It's just like when you speak with someone on the phone, you hear their energy is the same thing.
Hmm. Well, energy medicine suggests you don't have to be there in the physical, right? And I know one of your main clients at the moment is over in California, right? So
Yes.
clearly you're not flying over to California every Monday to Friday, right?
Yes, yes. They're in the south too, Southern California, where I used to live.
Uh,
Mm.
well, there you go. You're well traveled. You're well traveled. Well, is there anything else that you feel you'd like to share that that with the people or with potential clients that maybe they might want to hear, or anything you want to share that we haven't spoken about?
Um, I would like to add I am a very curious, interested in many things individual. So I don't just do these two things. I also am a very curious traveler. I love
Mm,
traveling. My family is still in Italy. I travel monthly to Italy to go see
mm,
them.
mm,
And also because sometimes I get a little bit into therapist syndrome. I like to keep myself fresh. And so my other activity, believe it or not, is completely different from this. I
I
am
have no
now,
idea what you're going to say now, Mickey.
I know, prepare yourself for the Gemini surprise.
Uh-oh.
So my other activity now is I went back to being a travel agent, which I've done for many
Oh, wow.
years on the side, and it's
Mm,
gone back on the side. I interrupted myself during COVID when I felt like I was really not making an impact during a moment where nobody was traveling. And
mm,
so I went back into it because it gives me an opportunity to not always be the therapist, but also to be the fun
mm, mm.
spreader.
Yeah.
So it's still very much an holistic way of helping people because I'm helping people find spa, well-being, hotels,
Yes.
concerts,
Mm,
and yes. So I want people to know that I am sort of a very interested individual in many things. And yes, I am a huge music fan, and I'm a huge Europe fan. In fact, you heard it from my ring, and so I travel to quite a few of their gigs if I can every year
wow.
because I love their energy and music is wonderful energy.
Well, where are they playing next, Mickey, or where are you going to see them next?
In Sweden.
Sweden, right? Wow. The final countdown.
Hmm.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen Europe live, but that song is certainly one of the most celebrated songs over the last 30, 40 years. It's everywhere. And I think it's touched every generation, hasn't it? Whether it's
It absolutely
yeah,
has. It touched
yeah,
me because I was 11 when I first heard it in front of the TV, and my parents still remember me completely hypnotized in front of it. And my father went, "Oh, here we go," and it's like that 37 years later. So
wow, that's good. It's good you've carried it on. It's good, and that was one thing we missed in COVID, wasn't it? The opportunity to go to concerts, and I think, I certainly
it was
the
so difficult.
I think it's a massively revived industry now because anyone who wasn't getting crowds is getting crowds because we're so grateful that we can actually go and see these people live, live music. There's nothing better than a festival, right?
100%. They're
Yeah.
healers too, without knowing.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think music is a big part of it, and when you hear a song, you're taken back to wherever that song you were in that point in your life when you first heard that song. It's amazing, and I often find whenever I wander around, if I go to a shop or I hear a song allegedly randomly, I think it just seems so pertinent. If you actually think about it, that what are those lyrics? They actually always give you a little message. So I agree. But the final countdown, that doesn't mean that your clients are all going to. This is their last moments. It's their opportunity to heal, isn't it? It's the
Yes.
countdown to healing as opposed to the end. Right. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's good.
Yeah.
Well, Mickey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for offering your time to do this interview. Thank you for
Thank you.
sharing your wisdom.
Thank you.
Um, you're obviously a very talented lady, incredibly versatile, energy medicine specialist, nutritionist, dietitian, Europe fan, free spirit, scientist, functional nutritionist, route finder, symptom avoider, and travel agent, flight booker. But no, thanks for this time, and yeah,
Thank you.
let's keep us posted. Maybe we can check in again in a few months just to see how you're going. So you heard it, people. Book a session with Mickey, whether that's in Glasgow or probably more likely remotely, and feel the magic.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Peter.
Mickey. Yeah, take care. Until next
And
time.
you. Till the
Bye-bye.
next. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.